Okay, now I'm going to go into some of the more technical details as to what I've contributed on during this Journeyman module so far in week 6. So first of all, if we take a look in the item generation, we can open up generate gun. This is a blueprint I made pretty early on. Maybe I made it week 1, but I started developing it in Excel in like week 0. So all this does is it will generate a series of 20 or so random stats that the gun inventory system can then use to randomize all of the, or to apply all of those stats to the gun firing mechanism. So if we open up stat final, you can see these are where all the numbers will generate, and I have this new var 0 here just to show you what they all do. So we have damage, accuracy, fire rate, reload speed, mag size, elemental damage, elemental chance, crit bonus, velocity, bullet, slash pellet, this is for shotguns, recoil reduction, stability, and then the rest of these are only used for the type of gun, elemental type, etc. So they're not listed there. So all this does is it uses an exponential randomizer to randomize between one of these gun types, or basically whatever I plug into the string here. So at the moment we've got the brand list, so Bandit, Atlas, all the way down to these three, which are sort of T-side themed, which I thought would be fun. Then we have the type list, etc. So all we do is we just take the length of the list, and then we generate a number based on it's a rand between the lowest element of the list to the power of this, and then between also the highest element of the list to the power of this. So it will generate, if this is a list of length 10, for instance, it will generate and the power is 2. It will generate 1 to the 2 and then 10 to the 2. It will generate a number between those, and then it will square root it, and then this just gives us a nice I can't remember if it's exponential or logarithmic, but in the end what it ends up doing is if we go into the event graph, the numbers that appear lower on this will be much more frequent to appear, and the higher we make the brand power, the more frequently Bandit will appear and the less frequently Coil will appear. So I've done this, I set the type power to fairly low because I think I want the guns to appear pretty frequently. Like a rocket launcher is not that rare, and a machine pistol shouldn't be that common, but still, like, something there, and the ability to tweak this number is nice. And then for rarity, I've set this number, I think the rarity power is set quite high, yeah, 2.5, which makes very rare guns very uncommon. So we have purple and yellow. And the advantage of the system, of course, is that if we just press add element, we can add any number of elements, and all we would have to do is come down here and then add and you can see I have the orange and dark orange and pearlescent already set there. So I have been editing the system, and it's sort of nice and easily expandable or compactable. And then we have the elemental list, and all I've done here is I've just set the first few to no element, and then the last to the elements that we want. And then, of course, if I set this value to 1, then they would all be equally likely to appear. So then all I do is we generate a sort of a pseudo normal distribution number for each of the individual stats based on their maximum possible value. So we have StatMax 0 and StatMax 99. All of the guns will generate with a level between 0 and 99, which we set. So all I do is I find the value that so if we're generating like a level 10 gun, I just find 10% of the way from 0 to 99. So if this was the damage is 3 at level 0, and the damage is 500 at level 99, so we just find 10% of the way there, and that's the average damage for a level 10 gun, for instance. And then we take a normal distribution on that, and then just pump that out of the. We just set the this base array to that, so we have a sort of baseline, and then if I go into the event graph, every time we randomize one of these, for instance, the brand, so. Bandit, for instance, have very large magazine sizes. So if I look into brand and then the Bandit, brand bonus Bandit, you'll see that the magazine size, I believe, is 4. Yeah, so they get 100 increase, and this is a sort of arbitrary number. It's we add up all of the bonuses, add 300, and then divide by 100. It's a little bit iffy, but it ends up producing some nice. So like the bandit guns will always have larger magazine sizes by a certain percentage, and then we set all of the final arrays here once we've added up all of their bonuses and done this division, and that will set everything. And then we just come in and we set the hard stats that don't change or get affected by any bonuses, like the brand, the type, the rarity, and the elemental. And I believe we have another one in a different version of this as well. And then if we want, we can just print out the stats that you get. So that's my gun generation system. It seems fairly complex, but I think it's pretty simple. It's just like this sort of core element replicated a bunch of times. So if I come in and we look into the character blueprints, so we have character base, and this has all of the damage information. So whenever anything's damaged, this is the tip-top sort of parent character. We can kind of ignore this for now. This is a sort of antiquated version of the gun system that we're going to switch out. There's a better one in the player. Yeah, so whenever anything takes damage, this is where it comes from, and I've just got a few interfaces here that will accept the damage. If we actually go into this projectile, you can see that whenever a gun, whenever it hits something, it just takes the target that it hits and it'll apply this dam physics and dam splash, which are the two different damage interfaces. And this gun array, these are the stats that we were just talking about in the gun generation system. So I just plug in various ones of those for this damage system, and then that's how you know it's applying the correct damage. And later on, what we'll do is we'll have a hitbox for crit. So we'll just have if it hits a crit hitbox, it will come through a separate one of these and it does a dam physics again, but it will check the crit hitbox instead. So if we look into the space character, we can see how the damage is broken up. So first of all, we'll do physical damage because it's much simpler. So all it does is we just check if they're dead, and if they're dead, we'll start applying some damage to them. And then what we do is we just have a little multiplier. So for instance, if they are critted, we want to increase the damage. If they're corroded, we want to increase the damage, and if they're slagged, we want to increase the damage by a certain amount. In Borderlands, slag doubles the damage. Crit doesn't. There's a very complicated system for crit. So all I've done is I've given a crit bonus to all of the guns that increases with the gun level, and it adds to the crit bonus. But in Borderlands, there's some crit penalty, which is just a bit of pain to set up. So then we have corrosion, which will add 0.15 to this multiplier, and then we have slag that will add 1 to this multiplier, and then the crit one just adds the crit damage divided by 100 to the multiplier, and then we just times whatever the incoming damage was by the multiplier, which in most cases is 1, but if they have any of these checked, it'll be greater than 1, and then we just use the steal damage thing here to deal the actual damage. Now the splash damage is a little bit more complex, but not really by that much. First of all, you just have to check what the if they're dead, and then you have to check the type of elemental damage. So for instance, this time you have to check if it is an elemental weapon. So if the LE is greater than 6, because if we go into generate gun for the LE list, we'll notice that 0 through 6, 0 through 5 are all non-elemental types, and then 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I think this is actually incorrect. Huh. I think it should be that 6 is also a none. So it should look more like this. That's why you should go through everything. So if this was greater than 6, then it'll start applying the elemental damage. So we come through here, and this is the elemental chance. So we just divide it by 100 and then make that a random ball with weight, because the chance is done by a percentage rather than by a 0 to 1. So we just divide it by 100, and then if both of those are true, then we proc, and if we proc, we just have to check if the elemental damage is greater than the one we're already applying. Because if I have a fire gun, it deals 10 fire damage, and you have a fire gun, it deals 20, and I shoot and I proc his fire damage per tick to be 10 damage per tick, and then there's no real reason for you to try and proc your gun, because it'll still deal 10. So if you have a better fire gun, it'll apply the better fire damage, and then it'll also reset the timer. So all it does, it'll just set the fire damage you're currently taking to that, and then later we clear this, I believe. And after that, we just come into the switch on int, so it just takes the type of damage we're taking, and it'll just set one of these timers, and these are all for the different elemental types. And then all this does is it just loops around, it deals the damage, it de-increments something by 1, and then when the thing is 0, it will just stop dealing the damage. So that's pretty simple, even though it looks pretty large. So you'll see we have all of these like deal damage here, and then in here I believe we have the deal damage, and this is where it all comes out. So we just have the damage value and a type of damage, and it just comes into the shield first, and at first it'll try and reduce damage to the shield, and then it'll come into the health. We have these resistances here that will just multiply the damage depending on its type by a certain amount. So if you're getting hit by physical damage, for a shield it just does 1 times the physical damage, but this is fire, it'll do half fire damage. So 7 is fire damage and 8 is shock, so it takes a lot of shock damage, shields do. And then these all are different, so for flesh, for instance, it'll take a lot of fire damage, 7 is 1.5, and then for armor, it'll take, I believe armor is just like pretty good, oh no, corrosion. There's quite a lot of armor. So all we do is we just cast to a widget and just reduce that value, so we got the health shield and health bar right here. And then if they die, we just sort of kill them, destroy the actor here. And we have the damage pop-off system, so you can see how much damage we have. We need to add an animation to that, but all it does is it just comes in here. It inputs the color that it should be, and the the amount of damage that it should be, and it just pops off like that. And then we have a sort of XP system that we're going to be building. At the start, when the character is made, all we do is we just set the shields and stuff, set it so it's definitely not dead. Just check if we want the enemy to have a shield, because enemies can spawn without shields if we want them to. Set all of these stats to be correct. Then we can set the health to be armored or non-armored, and that will just change the color. So if we want an armored enemy, we'll have the health to be yellow, so the player has some sort of visual indication of that. So if we go into the character player, we actually have a lot of the shooting mechanics. Most of this was done by Danny, and then I came in and refactored it, so that's why we have the sort of yellow and purple in here. And Joy. Okay, here we go. So this is some of the widget functionality. So we have when the health is decreased, when they take damage, we just decrease the health. When they gain XP, we just show that on the bar, etc. So if we come up here, this is whenever they fire. So we have action, impulse, fire. But on when we convert all of this from the character player into the base character, because even enemies we want to be able to shoot, what we'll do is we'll convert this into just an event, probably, with whenever the NPC decides to fire, we'll just fire that off like that. So this is just a Danny handles guns firing. Okay, so here's where we just set a bunch of ammo stuff that Danny has done, and this is my system for shooting. So we have automatic and non-automatic weapons, and they get handled slightly differently. And then we for shotguns, we just loop the amount of pellets they fire, and then before we do that, we just change the ammunition, de-increment it by 1, and then I believe we also update the HUD. Yeah, so this is what I built here. So we just de-increment the ammo by 1, and then we update the HUD ammo number and the HUD ammo percent to reflect the change, and then the ammo is reduced by 1, and the bullet is fired with a little bit of random rotation based on the amount of bullets fired, the amount of pellets fired, and also just a random int based on the accuracy of the weapon. So we also have the reloading here, so this is just whenever you hit the reload button, it'll refresh the amount of ammo in the magazine based on several factors. So this is whether or not you have enough ammo in your bag to continue reloading to full or not, so it'll either update it to full or to however much you have, and then it'll set the high diameter number appropriately. This is all pretty simple, so we'll just take a look at some of this working. So if I go ahead and press K here, we spawn in 4 guns, and these all have their random stats. The raycast is a little bit awkward to use. So we have a variety of random weapons here. Then if I go ahead and press 1, maybe we'll go for an automatic weapon. Yeah, there we go. So I've fired off several bullets here, so we're down to 15 in the magazine. When I press R, you'll notice that the ammunition decreased in the second column, second one down. We don't have icons for those yet. So I assume that's the SMG ammo there. You can see it decreasing. And if we fire all of the bullets from our magazine, we can no longer fire anymore, and pressing R reduces it like that. So there we go. That's this is most all of our mechanics currently implemented that I've worked on. We have some AI stuff that I didn't do, and some other things that have been added. But that's our current progress towards the game.